Good morning. Good morning and welcome to today's Plan Commission meeting. It is 9 o'clock. At this time, I would like to bring to order the meeting of September 14, 2022. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Janet, could you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Commissioner Gupta?
Here.
Commissioner Ketchum?
Here.
Chair Ramirez?
Here.
Chair Hansen is absent, and Chair Serrano Guan is not at the meeting yet.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have oral communications to allow public to address the commission on any matters that are not on the agenda. The chair will recognize you at this time. The speakers will be allowed on for 5 minutes. Janet, could you please explain to the public how they can participate?
Yes, Chair. For those attending the meeting on the Zoom video conference, we will use the raised hand feature in order to organize any public comments. During the general public comment period, and for each item on the regular agenda, I will ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raise hand feature in order to speak on that agenda item. For those joining by phone, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. When you hear your name called, I will prompt you to unmute your microphone and begin speaking. You'll have 5 minutes. Thank you. And then go ahead. So
do we have anybody?
we do actually have Fran Pollard with her hand raised. So give me 1 second. Ms. Pollard.
Okay, I just unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners and staff. Fran Pollard, El Granada. And I just wanted to let you know that a couple of weeks ago, our park committee of the Granada Community Services District unanimously passed the request to have the parking lot, the Quarry Park parking lot extension done. So I'm looking forward to that. I checked and I was told that it's going to be on the next agenda, the commission agenda at the end of this month. September 28th. So I hope so. And I look forward to that. That's all I wanted to say. I hope that the parking lot extension will, you will pass the CDP, the coastal permit, and let's get that finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pollard. Janet, do we have any more?
Thank you for your comment. I do see another caller on the line. It's labeled children. So just a reminder, this is for items not on the agenda. So if you still want to speak on that, let me go ahead and unmute your microphone. Can you hear us? One more time.
No.
Yes, go ahead.
We wanted to check in on when the item on the tree is being brought up, because some children wanted to speak for that item.
Oh, it's coming up shortly.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. So stick around.
Okay, that is our last speaker for this item, Chair.
Okay, seeing that there are no more members of the public that want to speak on this matter, I will now close oral communications. So next we have the let's see, the consent agenda, and we have 2 items, but we will be postponing the minutes of August 24th. So we just have 1 item left for the consent agenda. Is there a motion for that? Unless the commissioners want to take it off the agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda item 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. So, John, can you do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Gupta,
Aye.
Commissioner Ketchum,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramirez.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.
Motion passes.
Consent agenda is unanimously approved. All right, next we have the regular agenda, item number 3. Janet, could you please read it for the record, please? Janet, can you hear me? Did we lose Janet?
Yeah, that's surprising. Janet, you're on
She's
mute.
muted.
Yeah. I don't know what the issue she's having is, so why don't I go ahead and read
Sure.
the record?
Go ahead, yeah, Steve, go ahead.
Okay, so for item number 3, we have consideration of an appeal of the Community Development Director's decision to approve a Class 2 heritage tree removal permit to remove a 52-inch diameter at breast height valley oak tree due to its poor structure, imbalanced structure, and proximity to the public sidewalk and overhead power lines on property located at 895 15th Avenue in the unincorporated North Fair Oaks area. We have, the owner is Isa Corey, the applicant is Jonathan Corrado, and the appellant is Chris Boddicker. So with that, I think we're ready to proceed to planner Glenn Gia's presentation. Glenn, if you'd take it over, please.
Thank you,
Okay.
Steve. I'm back. Sorry, something was wrong with my computer, but go ahead, Glenn.
Okay, and now if everyone can see my screen, I'm sharing my screen with the commission and members of the public. So good morning, planning commissioners and members of the public. My name is Glenn Jia, planner 3 with the Department of Planning and Building. The item before the planning commission is item 3, which is for the consideration of an appeal of the community development director's decision to approve a Class 2 heritage tree removal permit for the removal of a 52-inch diameter at breast height valley oak tree due to its poor structure and proximity to public sidewalk and overhead power lines. The appellant is Chris Boddicker, property owner is Isa Corey, and the applicant is Jonathan Cordo. The subject property is located at A95 15th Avenue, North Fair Oaks, and is at the intersection of the 15th Avenue and Marsh Road in the North Fair Oaks neighborhood. The subject parcel is located in an urbanized single-family residential neighborhood. The existing parcel contains a single-family residence. The parcel size is approximately 6,200 square feet. As the commission can see on the aerial image, there are many mature trees in the neighborhood. On January 18, 2022, the county approved a tree removal permit for the removal of the valley oak tree located in the front yard of the subject property. The valley oak tree is considered a Class 2 heritage tree pursuant to the county's heritage tree regulations. The permit was issued based on the tree's poor structure and close proximity to a public sidewalk and PG&E power lines. Tree replacement with one oak tree using at least 24-inch size stock is required as stated in attachment A of the staff report. This slide provides some visual aids to help the commission visualize the appearance and location of the tree. The photo on the left-hand side on the screen shows the tree is located on the front yard of the subject property. The picture on the right-hand side is provided to show the structure of the tree and the proximity to PG&E power lines. This slide contains pictures of the large cavity as discussed in the staff report. As the commission can see, the cavity is in the tree base. This slide provides an additional picture of the tree. As the commission can see on the screen, the tree is adjacent to PG&E power lines, sidewalk, and structures. As discussed in the staff report, planning staff has reviewed the application and concluded that the proposed tree removal is in compliance with the heritage tree regulations, as the tree removal is proposed due to the general health of the tree, the anticipated longevity of the tree, whether the tree is a public nuisance, proximity to existing structures, and interference with utility services. Additionally, staff has reviewed the project and confirmed the project's conformance with the general plan. This slide and the next slide intends to provide staff's response to the appellant's concerns. The appellant claims that the oak tree is in fair condition. Staff concludes that the tree is in poor condition, which has been confirmed by both the property owner's arborist and the appellant's arborist. The appellant believes that the tree can be saved by pruning or trimming. Staff concludes that the appellant's arborist report does not provide a detailed analysis and a plan for trimming or pruning of the tree. Additionally, the county arborist concludes that the trimming and pruning may not significantly reduce the risk of tree falling. Next concern of the appellant is that the tree is vital to the integrity of the neighborhood. Staff's response is that the county highly values the preservation of heritage trees and follows the heritage tree regulations strictly. However, in this particular case, staff finds that it's necessary to allow the tree removal to effectively reduce the risks as discussed in the staff report. The appellant's last concern is that the adjacent tree failure referenced by the property owner's arborist in his arborist report may have affected the decision or recommendation of this project. Staff concludes that the information about the adjacent tree's failure is just informational and does not affect the county's decision or recommendation. Staff concludes that the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA. Pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15301, class 1H, related to the maintenance of existing landscaping, the proposed tree removal and the required replacement are considered maintenance of existing landscaping. For this reason, staff concludes that the project is exempt from CEQA. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission deny the appeal, uphold the decision of the Community Development Director to issue a tree removal permit, county file number PLN 2021-00331, by making the findings and adopting the conditions of approval, including in attachment A of the staff report. This concludes staff presentation. I'm available for any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Mr. Chia, for your presentation. Planning commissioners, Mrs. Gupta, do you have questions at this time?
The only question I have is, I've gone through the entire report and I think fair amount of analysis has been done on this. The thing I would like to ask is, was it ever considered to trim down the height of the tree?
Yeah, so according to the property owner's arborist, the option to trim or prune the tree was evaluated as part of their of the level 3 tree risk assessment, and they found that that may not be a viable option. And also, staff has consulted with the county arborist. So per the county arborist, trimming or pruning may not significantly reduce the risk of falling.
And do we have any idea how tall is the tree?
The height of the tree, staff needs to look into it. I believe it's listed in one of the arborist reports. So I will need to get back to the commission. I will need to go back to the arborist reports and see if that information is included in one of the arborist reports.
And what would you say, how old is the tree?
The tree, it's not describing the arborist report, so staff doesn't have the information. And now also, yeah, so staff doesn't have that information for the commission because it was not provided by the arborist.
Okay.
Although I think it's fair to say it's quite old. I mean, a
Quite
tree of
old.
size is, it takes quite a number of years. With regard to the height and the question regarding whether or not, trimming it would be adequate, I think it's the cavity at the base is the primary concern. And I think when you top a tree, it's not a recommended practice to top a tree because the growth that returns typically results in poor form. So I think it's really the source of the concern being the base of the tree.
Base of the tree.
yeah.
Right.
So
Understood. Right. Yeah. Just trying to get more information on that. Okay.
understood.
Thank you, Mr. Monowitz.
You're welcome.
No more questions.
Okay, Mrs. Ketchum?
Yeah, what liability does the owner have if the tree falls and causes damage or injury?
I believe that would be a legal question, so I would defer it to the county council who's on this line.
It's a complicated area, but I'll do my best to put it into a nutshell. Trees are the personal property of the owner of the land on which the trunk sits. And as such, if it falls and damages persons or structure on the property itself, it would be a sort of an insurance matter about whether or not that was one of the risks that the homeowner's insurance covered. If it falls off the property and onto other private property, it's considered a form of trespass. And there is potentially liability for an owner who has not acted reasonably with regard to the tree. Also, this is the type of thing that most people obtain homeowners insurance to address. I don't know whether or not the condition of the tree has been taken into account in the premium calculation for the property, but it's the type of thing that if an insurance company was aware of a particular risk, they might tell the homeowner that there are recommendations that they should follow to mitigate that risk. And then lastly, if it falls off of private property and onto public property, like onto a street or roadway, there would be both a trespass issue and potentially a negligence claim by anybody who was harmed by that. But in general, the liability for trees are a matter of the private property owner who owns the land on which the trunk sits.
Thank you. I read something interesting on the California Native Plant Society website, CalScape. This relates to the anecdotal report about the same variety of tree dropping a limb nearby. So this is the quote from CalScape. It says, because of its eventual size, it may not be appropriate for the average residential garden. This is the Valley Oak. Best not to provide irrigation within 33 of established Valley Oaks. They'll often absorb too much water, causing limbs to break off. I just thought that was interesting in this case. So I have no further questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I don't have any questions at this time. Can we, is the owner online? Are they going to have a presentation?
Janet, is your mic working now?
It
It will-
is working. Glenn, do you see your applicant on the line?
Give me one moment here. I need to stop sharing so I can go check the attendees list.
Yeah, I was looking out for him, but I didn't see him earlier.
If the applicant or the applicant's representative could please raise your hand if you are in attendance, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, I do not see the property owner Isa Cowrie and his representative
Mhm.
Jonathan Cordo in the list.
Okay, we'll see if they come in later. I think we can go to public comment at this time. Janet.
Mr. Chair, may I suggest that you provide the appellant with the first opportunity to speak?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah, go ahead, let's do that.
And that is Ms. Chris Whitaker, whose hand is raised. If you could please unmute Ms. Whitaker, Jonathan.
There you go. Okay.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, go ahead.
After I speak, I'd like to see if Niket can also speak on my behalf. Good morning, commissioners and staff. Thank you for allowing me for my 5 minutes of saving the tree. We have resided at 895 15th Avenue next door to we're at 891 to 895 for over 20 years. And this property was recently sold to Mr. Curry about June of 2021 as a rental property. So anyway, when this all came about, it was surprising to see that he had submitted an application for removal. So as we found out, there was the original application to remove the tree, and apparently it was filled out inaccurately, stating that the circumference of the tree was 42 inches, whereas it was qualified as a heritage valley oak at 52 inches. So I do question the legality of that. After I think Dan Krug had gone back to the owner, they submitted the correct information at that time. The owner hired an arborist from Arborwell Save a Tree to do an assessment of the tree. In the meantime, we had contacted a few other arborists, and let me just let you know, if by any chance they had agreed that the tree was in immediate danger, I would not be sitting here today. I would have agreed, yes, let's take it down and go for it. Unfortunately, the Arborwell's assessment was not to the likelihood of a credential Roy Leggett, who is known in the industry with over 30 years of experience. We hired him to do an assessment. He has also been hired by the county to do assessments on various projects. He had found out that the report was not as accurate as it should be. Mr. Tushman, who worked for Arborwell at the time, did not use a track form, which is all the data that's needed to submit a permit. And this is done by the AIA, if I'm not mistaken. We also had an air spade evacuation done by Davey Tree. They found the roots to be undamaged by decay and bark, and it was present to be alive and healthy. The findings indicated that the root collar and crown was not decayed. In the meantime, living next door, we have seen PG&E come in, I think twice in the probably about 6 months ago, to do the trimming. If there was a maintenance done on the tree, I think the tree could live for another 100 years. And I do appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Chair, I believe that the applicant requested that Niket Cersei speak on
Yes.
her behalf, so perhaps he can use the remainder of the time, or maybe, I don't know if you want to give additional time to him.
I think that next person should get an additional 5 minutes.
So let's see, Niket, I think, is on our panel.
I am somehow, I'm not sure, but. Hello?
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, so good morning and thank you for the chance to address the commission today. As Chris mentioned, there were several concerns that I'd like to address in terms of the process and why, speaking on behalf of the public and the community, that we urge you to deny the application for tree removal. As you're aware, it is a heritage tree, and per the San Mateo County, heritage trees are living landmarks and important to the quality of life in San Mateo. It is our intent to explore the methods of solving tree-related problems without resorting to tree removal when possible. This tree has been subject to numerous incorrect applications, starting from the initial application, as Chris mentioned, to avoid being subject to previous heritage tree ordinances. The following reports indicated with no supporting proof that the tree was damaged. And finally, when pressed, an official arborist report was commissioned and performed by ArborWell. However, this report has several issues, again, as Chris mentioned, and reported by Mr. Roy Leggett, a certified arborist, over 30 years experience. As presented to you all, the ArborWell report did not follow guidelines of the International Society of Arboriculture, or ISA, and the ISA recommends a standard track form to fully evaluate the health of the tree. This was not provided. The methodology to evaluate the tree also was incorrect. The comparisons that the arborist used to compare the health of the tree were also to incorrect trees. The qualifications of the ArborWell arborist were not provided. And as Chris mentioned, the PG&E has trimmed the tree to reduce the risk to power lines specifically. Mr. Roy Leggett has provided a relatively neutral report, not a biased report with an action plan of going forward, but the option to investigate more options to save this tree. His statement is that the condition of the tree is as expected for the age, and the county does not indicate an unhealthy tree or potential structural damage. As per his quotes, the likelihood matrix requires that a likelihood of failure be probable within a specified time frame. Since this tree has been standing for perhaps 200 years or more and has had the hollow depicted for many decades, predicting the failure as probable within 1 year is not justified or supported. As well, Mr. Tuchman stated that pruning was considered as a mitigation option. He does not indicate what pruning techniques or if there was a long-term pruning plan considered. A valley oak is capable of being pruned with much larger reduction cuts than would be possible with many other trees, mimicking the natural branch shedding patterns and allowing the tree to be reduced in overall size over multiple pruning events. Retrenchment pruning techniques are frequently used for mature valley oaks to reduce overall canopy size and minimize loads on the lower trunk of the tree. So this tree is a heritage tree that has been around for over 100 years and given a chance could easily live for 100 more. These trees are vital to our environment, neighborhood, and quality of life. They mitigate effects of climate change, produce clean air, and mitigate excessive water runoff. Extra care and scrutiny must be observed when making a decision to remove one of these majestic trees. 2 separate arborists have indicated a healthy root collar system and crown, contrary to ArborWell's findings. This application does not provide complete and accurate information to prove the necessity of a tree removal. All options to maintain the tree have not been explored, and given this, I ask the commission to please deny the application for tree removal. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think at this time we can open for public participation.
Thank you, Chair. Hold on just 1 second. Almost.
Dennis, do you need assistance?
No, I think I'm got it. Okay, sorry. We're now opening public comment for item number 3. If your hand is raised, your name will be called. I do see 3 people on the line so far. So right now, we're going to go ahead and unmute the children. So they have permission to speak. Hold on just a second. Go ahead. Can you hear
Hello,
us?
and thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm Jishnu. These are my friends. We are here to help support the tree. Hi. I don't think we should cut down the tree because it's been there for so long. And we can stick clay inside the stump to support it. Thank you. Hi. If you cut down the tree, you are hurting Mother Nature. Thank you. Hi. The tree has been there for so long, it's like the mother of all the little trees. Thank you. There's a recent heat wave and ongoing global warming, so we need the shade of all our trees. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your comment. We'll now call on Gwen Miner. Please unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
Mute. Hello, commissioners. I would like to thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of this tree. This tree, as I noticed in your comments, was not in any report how old this tree was. This tree is over 200 years old. I have been working with these urban oaks for many years now. I sat in a tree to try to save the tree 8 years ago on Alameda in Redwood City for just this same reason. A beautiful, big, healthy tree has been deemed not acceptable for liability reasons. These trees, these native oak trees, are in peril. More than 95% of urban oaks have been lost since the 1920s, when large-scale development became the norm. That's only 100 years ago. We are losing them very quickly for development reasons, and that includes enlarging someone's driveway. These trees are famous for sequestering more CO2 than any other tree that's planted in the county. These trees should be planted in wide-scale developments, or they should be planted on in a wide scale to help sequester CO2s, because that's what the counties and cities are hoping for to mitigate some of the climate change issues we're facing. These trees feed dozens and dozens of species. The caterpillars on this tree in the spring feed the baby birds that are hatched in the spring. Hundreds of birds are supported by this tree. This tree was here before California was a state. That's how old this tree is. This tree likely fed the local Loni tribes, who would have harvested its acorns in the fall. Right now is the time when the trees are falling, the trees are letting their acorns drop. This tree, if this tree were a building of the same age, its destruction would not be allowed. There would be a fight for it. And these people have come together in this community of North Fair Oaks to try to get justice for nature. In England, they've had the opportunity to work with heritage oaks for a thousand years. The forests were reserved for the king's private enjoyment. Management records show how individual trees were cared for, and they developed pruning techniques to keep these trees healthy and intact for as long as possible. When you visit Sherwood Forest in Nottingham, yes, that is a real place. You can visit a 1,000-year-old oak tree called the Major Oak and other ancient trees that are given support to live out their lives. These trees are healthy. This tree is a healthy and productive member of society. It has hundreds of years left to sequester CO2s for humans, provide food for tens of thousands of animals, and shade generations of families that will live in the house that this person owns at the moment. If safety is an issue, a series of heavy prunings to reach a level of safety and provide a tension compression belt, which they use in England, when this healthy tree needs extra support for its trunk, which it does not need now. Development in our area continues to decimate the native tree population. This community has joined together in respect for one of the last remaining ancient trees in the Bay Area. Do not cut this tree down. Do not kill this friend. This has to stop. Deny the application. And I was told by the sheriff of Nottingham Forest, believe it or not, that these trees grow for 500 years and die for 500 years. So please let this tree live out its life. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you for your comment. I will next call on Virginia Miller Bowen, followed by Elena. So please unmute your microphone and you can begin speaking.
Hi, yes, this is Virginia Miller Bowen. I'm a neighbor. I live on 15th Avenue, just down the block from this tree. This tree has provided our neighborhood with beauty, carbon sequestration, oxygen, and habitat for the native nature. Birds, we see all sorts of beautiful birds in this neighborhood, including bluebirds, hawks, woodpeckers, nuthatches. It's almost like walking through a forest when you walk through this neighborhood. And that is why people love this neighborhood. Cutting down that tree is not just one act. There has been an assault on this neighborhood canopy over the last few years, driven by development and without the oversight of someone that is watching out for the environment and for the character of the neighborhood. Just everything that the other commenters have said, I support. We are, this neighborhood is in support of trying to protect the canopy. We've had a lot of trees taken down unnecessarily in the last few years, and it has alarmed us. We need to have a larger plan to figure out how to stop this assault on our canopy. And we need to find creative solutions to protect these heritage trees. And also just in general, the character of the neighborhood is going to change if we keep cutting down all these beautiful trees. This tree was here long before this neighborhood was here. And we need to respect its it as a treasure that it is. It's lived for at least 80 to 100 years, probably closer to 200 years. It has provided cooling and shade to all of the people that have lived, the generations of people that have lived near it. And we should not be the generation to kill it. We have conflicting results on the arborist that we, from the very beginning, it was questionable, the motives of the people that are trying to take down this tree for their own reasons. They probably are, thinking about selling the house for all we know, and want to make it easy for the driveway to be larger. And that is not a reason to remove a heritage tree. So we need to protect it. Please do everything in your power to protect this tree and take it seriously when your neighborhood is protesting, because there is a reason. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. I will next call on Elena, followed by Suzanne. Elena, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Elena Marinelli. I live on 9th Avenue, so I'm a neighbor from a little further afield. I came into this meeting with an open mind and I wasn't planning on speaking, so this is off the cuff. From what I've heard here today, this sounds like a solution in search of a problem. I have heard from other neighbors, as was referenced by the previous speaker, that there are concerns about, what is the actual reason for this? Because if you have multiple arborists reports, they're conflicting, and most of the folks involved seem to think that the tree is actually okay, then I would be highly suspicious as to why the tree needs to come down in the first place. If the arborist's report was not commissioned until way after the permit requesting that the tree be removed, then that doesn't, I'm guessing that the person who lives there is not themselves an arborist and couldn't judge the health of the tree. It sounds like they just want this tree removed and they're going to try to find a reason for why they're able to do it, even trying to sidestep the fact that it's a heritage tree. So I would urge the commission to consider really the reasons going into this, that this is happening. And in addition to what the other folks before me have so eloquently said, I moved to this neighborhood back in April, and it is coming from relatively manicured suburban areas before this. It's a beautiful, wild neighborhood. It's called North Fair Oaks for a reason, emphasis on the oaks. I would invite the commission to come by and take a walk through our neighborhood sometime. It's beautiful. You have all of these trees. It stays nice and shady, even during the very nasty heat wave we had. I noticed because when I walk on the streets without all that coverage, it gets very hot. There are tons of squirrels and birds who enjoy the trees. My house is actually under the canopy of a really huge oak tree. And let me tell you, it is annoying to have all of those acorns and sap and everything drop onto my car. And guess what? I got a car cover. I'm not asking to chop the tree down. So I don't know. I mean, the applicant isn't even here today to defend their position. I would just ask the commission to be skeptical, look at all the facts, and make a decision that is good for the holistic view, not just for one person. The neighborhood is really rallied around this to an extent that I haven't seen before. Yeah, that was very off the cuff. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for your comment. We will next call on Suzanne Buckner. Please unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
I'm hoping that you can hear me.
Yes, go ahead.
Great. My name is Suzanne Birchner and I live on Palmer Lane, which is actually also 15th Avenue. I just happen to live around the corner where the name of the street has been changed. I've been living on Palmer Lane for over 10 years, but I am a 57-year resident of San Mateo County, specifically the unincorporated areas of Menlo Park. I grew up on the other side of town in University Heights and still own a property over there that I inherited from my mother. The reason I mention it is because on that property, we have one very old, very large heritage oak that is not anything even nearly the size of this one. I am going to admit I am definitely a tree lover. I'm a tree hugger. I love these valley oaks. I am biased in trying to protect this tree. I understand the aesthetic issue with this tree, but I do believe that a couple of things are just either flawed logic or suspicious in what's going on with this specific tree on 15th Avenue. I actually, knowing the heritage oak regulations quite clearly, when I saw the permit posted to remove the tree and saw that it had not been designated as a heritage oak for protection on that permit, I went over and I looked at it, and I'm the person who discovered that the measurement on the permit was incorrect. And I would like to make a clarifying point. Mr. Glenn Gia, maybe you can help with this as well. That even though Chris Bodeker, the immediate neighbor to the property, said that it was a 52-inch circumference tree, I believe it's a 52-inch diameter tree. So Glenn, maybe you can help with that information in a moment. I wanted to mention that last week, as we were having 110-degree temperatures in Menlo Park, I drove over to my mom's house to make sure that her very old oak tree was still okay. It has lost a couple of branches over the last couple of years, but when the branches have fallen, they have fallen slowly and come gently to rest on the roof of the house and in the yard, causing no major structural damage. We've had one major branch removed by S.J. McClanahan, and they have deemed that these old trees are still doing okay. They are built to survive high drought situations. And they, as others have said, they sequester huge amounts of carbon dioxide. They provide shade, temperature cooling, huge amounts of environmental resources for the native flora and fauna here. Acorns and leaves should not be considered to be a problem or a nuisance or a mess. They actually go back into the ground if you let them, and add to the nutrients within the entire neighborhood. Last week, as I went to check on my mom's tree, I noted on my car temperature gauge that it was 110 degrees over at the intersection of Sand Hill Road and Santa Cruz Avenue. As I drove through Menlo Park, the city of trees, I ended up on Middlefield Road and Marsh Road, just about 3 blocks away from this tree, and the temperature had dropped over 6 degrees as I drove through town. I don't think that this is should be a surprise to anybody, that the areas that have large canopy, old trees, big old trees, have a better chance of surviving drought situations. The residents have a better quality of life because of the trees, because of the shade, because of the animals that visit the trees. And I think that Mr. Khoury, though he purchased the property for whatever his reasons might be, I think that he is potentially not appreciating the tree because he has his eye on the real estate value much more than on the neighborhood value of a tree. I am just, I didn't really take a lot of notes, but I just wanted to ask Mr. Gia to please confirm the measurement of the tree when I'm done speaking. And I wanted to thank everybody for their time today. And I do think it also is an issue that the owner is not on call. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. Chair, there are no more speakers for this item. You're on mute.
Thank you. At this time, then, I will ask for a motion to close public participation.
I move to close the public participation.
Second?
We have a motion and second. Janet, do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Gupta,
Aye.
Commissioner Ketchum,
Aye.
Commissioner Serrano Kwan,
Aye.
Chair Ramirez.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion
All right.
passed.
Motion carries unanimously. Public comments are now closed for this item. All right, I think we can move to our Plan Commissioner's comments and deliberation. I'm gonna call on Mrs. Ketchum.
Okay, this is tough because these are just the most beautiful trees, these valley oaks. And I used to live in Menlo Oaks when before the big houses were being built, and then these oaks had plenty of room. And it just, I have a lot of sympathy with the comments made, and I agree with the comments made. The problem here is the tree has been hemmed in by the house and the sidewalk and defeated by the utility lines and the irrigated lawn. Severe pruning by PG&E destroyed the tree's natural form and beauty. Attempts to reduce weight and restore balance by more severe pruning would seem to only further diminish any remaining natural character that once contributed to the neighborhood. Now there's no space for the tree to be allowed to die naturally. I just, that's all I have for now.
All right, Ms. Gupta? Ms. Gupta, you actually turn off your
I
mic.
just,
Yeah.
I just did. I can see how the neighbors feel. Everything they said makes sense from their perspective. I heard what our legal counsel had to say about the liabilities and things. I've seen the pictures. I've been in that neighborhood, but not recently. Many years ago, I had family who used to live there. The tree does look imbalanced, no doubt to say that. I value our director's judgment on that. All those things said, it is a tough decision. I'm still thinking.
All right. Do you want to say anything else, or can I pass it on to another?
Go ahead, go ahead.
All right, Mr. Serrano Kwan, your comments?
Yeah, I want to thank the community for coming out and supporting the life of the oak tree. It sounds very meaningful for the community, and we want to take that into consideration. It's a tough balance to uphold here. And that's really all the comment that I have is we don't get that much community since I've been here, and I'm a new commissioner, so I haven't experienced that much community support. So I'll give it some thought. Thank you very much, Chair.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so I'm going to give you my 2 cents on this. I think overall, over the years, this commission has always been pro saving trees. And that's why we've gone through several changes to our tree protection. But with that said, I live in the neighborhood. I went to see this particular tree, which I think is in very poor shape. It has a lot of issues, and I'm gonna go along with Mrs. Ketchum on her comments. Unfortunately, over the years, PG&E has done a number on trees around the neighborhoods. They really go in and hack trees and destroy a lot of these trees. So could the tree live much longer? It probably could. It's so unbalanced. That huge hole at the base tells you that it has major rotting already. So you gotta balance the safety of the public with trying to save a tree that it could stay there longer, but we don't know how much longer. And can we secure the safety of the neighborhood? I'm hearing the kids that are very much in favor of saving this tree. Actually, in my church right here in Menlo Park, early this week, we lost a major tree that was in perfect shape. It has been cared for, and all of a sudden it dropped. Luckily, no one got hurt. And it was a tree that, by anybody's looks, it was a perfect tree. It didn't have any issues, and it dropped. Luckily, it happened at a time when there was no one around. So to me, that's a major issue. The safety of the people as they get close to this tree. It's the most important thing for me. It's important to me to save trees. Now, my say would be that, we have a replacement plan for this tree. So maybe we can make it an educational item for these kids to come around and help this tree, the new tree that will replace this tree, and they can see it grow as they grow up in the neighborhood. So anyway, those are my thoughts at this time. Anybody else wants to say something?
Mr. Chair, if I might say something on the behalf of the staff, because I think we too empathize with the position of the neighbors and really try to do our best to save heritage trees when we can. And, this difference of opinion between experts is nothing new to the department or the commission. And I just, want the participants to know that, we took this issue very seriously. And I know the county arborist is always doing his best to preserve trees when they can be preserved, those that are native and appropriate too. So I know it was not an easy decision for him, but I think at the end of the day, where we wound up is in the same position that's been expressed by you, Mr. Chair, and Commissioner Ketchum. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Go ahead, Mrs.
But-
Gupta. Hand raised, yeah.
Right. And one thing going forward, which will happen, in my opinion, is that periodically the tree, if we leave it, will be trimmed to keep it away from the power lines. It will continue to be trimmed by PG&E because it has to be for safety reasons for it to stay away from the power line, and it may keep getting worse.
Yes, in that regard, I think one of the concerns that the county arborist had with the idea of pruning or allowing it to stay under circumstances where it's going to be continually severely pruned is that it will continue to lead to a decline in its health, because without adequate canopy on the tree, it's in the drought conditions we're in, it's
Right.
create a declining situation, which increases the hazards you're discussing.
Exactly. Right. And it's going to make things worse, like you said. Right. That's all.
I believe our planner, Glenn, wanted to say something. Glenn, did you want to provide the information that was requested by the speaker?
Yes, one of the speakers asked about the diameter of the tree, so I just want to make some clarifications on that. And according to the arborist report, the application and the staff report, the tree is 52-inch diameter at the breast height. So it's at the breast diameter at the breast height, not circumference. Just want to make that clarification for the speaker and the commission.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for that clarification. I think at this point, we have the information that we need to move forward. So I will contemplate a motion at this time.
I'm ready to make a motion. I just wanted to say, as a horticulturist, it can be heartbreaking to lose a tree, and especially these magnificent trees. But I know it's a big leap, but it's also an opportunity to plant something of appropriate size and adaptability. And the tree, as people have pointed out, it grew before this area was developed as it is. But the development is there, and that's where and this is allowed to be built, and the tree can no longer fit there. So anyway, I'll go on with the motion. I move that we deny the appeal and uphold the decision of the Community Development Director to issue the tree removal permit, county file number PLN 2021-00331, by making the findings and adopting the conditions of approval included in attachment A of the staff report.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Carlos seconds it. Carlos Serrano Juan.
Okay, now there's a motion and a second. Janet, could you do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Gupta,
Aye.
Commissioner Ketchum,
Aye.
Commissioner Serrano Juan,
Aye.
Chair Ramirez.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, the motion carries unanimously with the commissioners that are present, and we have one absent commissioner at on today's meetings. So thank you. And again, this was a very difficult decision. All right, so we can move on to the next item on our agenda. But for this item, I have to announce that I'm going to recuse myself for this item because there's a conflict of interest on my part, as I live in very close proximity to this project. So at this time, I'm going to allow Vice Chair Gupta to take the meeting over for the remainder of this meeting. So with that, I will leave you and I will see you at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Ramirez.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Are you ready for the next item?
Okay. So, Janet, could you please read item 4 into the records?
Yes. Item number 4, owner Bowen Fund 2018-2920 LLC. Applicant Tony Ponterio, Director of Development, file number PLN 2021-00249. And the location is 890 Barron Avenue at 2910, 2920, 2930, and 2964 Bay Road. And today we have Camille. Camille, go ahead.
Good morning. Let me share my screen. Can you all see? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so good. Okay, so the project site is located in the northern section of North Fair Oaks on Bay Road in between Barron and 2nd Avenues. The zoning is M1 NFO for manufacturing, mixed use industrial and North Fair Oaks zoning district. The land use designation is medium high density and industrial mixed use. The parcels that are within the county's jurisdiction are located on the top left picture. Bowen Fund actually owns all of the parcels shown on. So there's some cream colored parcels here, but Bowen Fund owns also these parcels located within the city of Redwood City's jurisdiction. Just to give you an idea of the current development in the neighborhood, these photos are taken from Bay Road of the project site. There's just some smaller industrial type buildings. This is located at the sort of the corner here at Second and Bay. And then this is taken from Barron and Bay at the corner. And then these are taken from, I guess, the southern part of the project site here at Barron, the southern corner of Barron at the project site, and then also another photo here of the project site from Second. And then I also just wanted to note there is I believe it's 855 Barron Mobile Home Park located here to the west of the project site. And this is a photo of the homes at the mobile home park. Let's say it's across the street, not quite directly, but it's across the street. This is a map showing the jurisdiction. It's a little bit of a complicated jurisdiction where the project area actually encompasses a parcel that spans both the city and the county. So this parcel right here is undergoing sort of a separation, a division at the city of Redwood City. And once this section gets divided out, which they are working on, it will be merged with the parcel in the city. And then the portion within the county of this parcel will be merged with the portions within the county. So just in terms of phasing, the project will include demolition of the industrial buildings. 10 smaller trees will be removed. They are not significant trees. The project will involve 23,000 yards of cut and 3,000 cubic yards of fill for mostly for the foundation and the subgrade parking garage, which is not fully subgrade, just a little bit. The building is 136,706 square feet. It'll be of R&D use, which is a permitted use in this zoning district. The applicant has provided a logistics plan for construction traffic, which will be reviewed later. They propose lots of interesting, I would say, landscaping and ground level features, including an open plaza, a rooftop garden on top, and then also there will be that portion within the city of this block that's going to be referred as 2950 Bay Road and is not the subject of your review today, but under city jurisdiction. So in terms of the process, it's been not a longer road, just a road, I guess, getting to this point. This project has gone to the North Fair Oaks Community Council in April. We have some comments in a slide further in this presentation. It went to a major development public workshop, and staff has issued a comment letter with the comments from review agencies. There was actually no one in attendance at the workshop. With the Planning Commission, so this is the Planning Commission public hearing. You'll be reviewing the grading permit. There was a notice to property owners within 300 feet, as well as interested parties and the North Fair Oaks Community Council. There was some kind of environmental review on this, CEQA analysis. It is subject to appeal. The grading permit it's appealable to the board. There's 2 other permits associated with this project. They are required. They are ministerial in nature, so they don't need a public hearing. And they are the SDP, which is the site development permit. And there's also a merger once that one parcel that spans both jurisdictions gets separated. The SDP is a newer permit that was established in the zoning district, and it is appealable to the Planning Commission. And then after these actions occur, then the building permit can be issued once it's reviewed by the building department. These are some renderings of the project site. This is from Bay. Anyway, this is from taking across the street from Bay, from the project site. And then this shows those parcels that are within the city with the existing development, but the applicant has a rendering showing the proposed development, just so you can have an idea of the overall campus would look like once constructed. These are elevations of the project and from Barron Road, at Barron Avenue, as well as Second Avenue elevations. This is from Barron, the rendering on the left. These are the views from Bay Road, as well as the south elevation of the parcel, the property, which fronts some neighboring industrial parcels. And as described in the staff report, the project does comply with the zoning requirements of the M1 NFO. The project site is larger than required. It's wider than the minimum parcel width. Site coverage, the proposed site coverage is under the 80% maximum. Building floor area is about even with the maximum. The front setback complies. There's a larger front setback than required along Bay. Also, they provide an 8.5-foot minimum rear setback where there isn't any requirement. They meet the right side setback. They also meet the left side setback, and the building height complies. I have to say, with the exception of the stair and the elevator, it complies in terms of ADA requirements, but it does exceed the 40-foot height limit. And I can show you in this next slide. So we are holding the building to the 40-foot height limit, but for ADA, in order to provide equal access to the rooftop garden for it will, for those in wheelchairs as well as able-bodied people, they would need to exceed the height limit to provide that elevator to the rooftop garden. And you can see in this top section that there is some grading to accommodate the foundation for the project. This shows you the layout of the proposed parking. They propose 198 parking stalls where 183 are required. Also a lot of bicycle parking spaces. I asked the applicant whether, because it does seem like there's a lot of EV spots versus regular spots, and they clarified that these EV spots are sort of future EV spots when the state regulation kicks in and restricts the number of fossil fuel vehicles that could be sold in California later on. So these would just be conventional spaces in the until that occurs. So this is level 2. It'll just open R&D office space. This is just showing what's down at the courtyard level, the ground level. And this is level 3, R&D space. And then the rooftop garden is shown here. And then this is just a view of the features in the ground floor. So there's like a trellis on top, as well as some landscape areas and walk around areas. That's one in color. The view from Bay again. This is the grand stairwell. The applicant can give you more of the design background behind that. I think it offers an attractive, kind of unique feature to the building. I was asking them whether those using the elevator would have a similar aesthetic experience, and they would. There's an elevator right here that would go up and kind of give them the same views as what's offered for pedestrians going up the stairs, which is good, nice. So as described in the staff report, the project complies with the general plan in terms of stormwater and erosion control and dust control. The project also complies with the required sewer connection and water connections. And those conditions of approval have been added to attachment A. As far as compliance with the North Fair Oaks Community Plan, the site, the redevelopment of the site would redevelop the underutilized vacant areas and provide employment and economic opportunities at the site greater than what exists now. And then also it it isn't a gateway, this location. It isn't identified as a gateway. Fifth and Bay is identified as a gateway that's approximately 1,000 feet to the west. However, it adds to that area. It's a well-designed building within proximity of that entry point. In terms of environmental review, the North Fair Oaks Community Plan Environmental Impact Report was used as the zoning was intended to allow this kind of R&D development. And this project complies with the mitigation measures of the environmental impact report. And staff reviewed the environmental analysis provided by the applicant. So no further environmental review is required for this project. In terms of the comments received at the North Fair Oaks Community Council, the project received unanimous recommendation on the grading permit to the PC. And North Fair Oaks Community Council specifically made a recommendation to incorporate more landscaping along Barron as a buffer from as viewed from the trailer park, and then to also discourage construction, parking, and access along 2nd Avenue. It's more the residential area to the northeast within the city area. And then also to allow community access to the plaza, which would be allowed. It's an open plaza, they're calling it. There isn't a public access easement over the open plaza, just to clarify whether there's legal right for access, but the private property owner is allowing public access over the open plaza. And then also for the applicant to use Bay Road as the main construction vehicle access parking. And staff has worked with the applicant on crafting a condition to meet the comments received from the North Fair Oaks Community Council, as well from members of the public, to minimize impacts to the residential neighborhood, as well as to the trailer park across the street. And some of those specifically are that trucks should enter the site from Bay Road for all phases of construction, except as for grading and mass excavation. I'll get to that under C. That construction parking will occur at an offsite location. That during grading and mass excavation phases, trucks shall enter the site from Bay Road and exit onto 2nd and proceed back to Bay Road. And then also on Barron's is not to be used during grading and mass excavation activities, so that the construction traffic won't conflict, the large vehicles won't conflict with the traffic going into the trailer park. And that they coordinate with the mobile home park residents across the street as much as possible, including like a bulletin board for noise complaints and announcements, and with the bulletin board posted on the Barron Avenue side. This is the logistics plan for construction traffic that the applicant has provided, with traffic coming from Bay and then exiting off of 2nd and then going back to Bay, but avoiding that area to the northeast on 2nd Avenue. So with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the grading permit by making the findings and adopting the conditions of approval in attachment A, and staff is available for any questions.
Thanks, Camille. I just wanted to make a note about the EV parking, because we've got our building regulation update cycle coming forward, and we've been working closely with the Office of Sustainability on what we call the REACH codes, and that's a shorthand for the building regulations that we adopt that go above and beyond what the state requires. And one of the areas in which we intend to require greater energy efficiency, or reduce emissions, I should say, is by requiring a greater number of EV-ready parking stalls. So the number of the EV parking stalls will be dictated by the building regulations, depending on when they submit their building applications, and if it's post 2022, then it's likely to be much greater in terms of how many stalls must be EV equipped and EV ready than what's shown here. So just a clarification in that regard. Thanks, Camille, for your presentation, and commissioners, we're happy to take any questions. Chair Gupta, you are on mute at the moment.
Sorry. Okay. Commissioner Camille, that was a very good presentation. Thank you. Commissioner Ketchum, do you have any questions for Camille?
None for me, thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Serrano Kwan, you have
No
any
questions.
No
Commissioner
questions?
Gupta.
Okay. I had, I think as I said, the presentation was excellent. My question is, right now, there's a parcel that's kind of split between city, Redwood City, and the county. So is this a standard way of progressing? Is to go ahead and approve grading permit before that the split is approved?
Commissioner Gupta, what you're speaking of is the jurisdictional boundary, which has actually been an awkward component to the project. The project site includes lands that are both in the unincorporated county as well as within the city. And so there's not going to be any split in land or change in jurisdiction. What the applicant needs to do is complete the process with Redwood City regarding the development that will occur on the portion of the site that's within the city's jurisdiction. And I think it will be in their inherent interest to get that all wrapped up so that construction of the site can occur at one time, so that they don't have to stage construction twice. So it's more of a procedural issue than it is, I think, a issue that impacts the construction of the project, other than timing and the need to get approvals from two jurisdictions. I hope that answers your question. Am I?
Yeah. So ideally, they will not start grading till that side is also, so they may want to do that at the same time?
I would think so, but I will let them speak to that point when they have an opportunity.
Okay.
Well, we won't, just as conditioned, we will not issue a building permit until the parcels are merged. And they cannot start grading until they've been issued a building permit.
Okay. Okay.
And that's for the portion within the unincorporated area, right, Camille? And so we're talking about the relationship to the portion within the city and the timing between the two, which, unless you know the answer to that, we'll let the applicant speak to.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So at this time, I would like the applicant to speak. They have 15 minutes.
Hello, Commission. My name is Ian Barth. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. My name is Ian Barth. I'm with Bowen Capital. I grew up, was born and grew up in Redwood City, so it's an honor to be able to work and improve the neighborhood in which I grew up. We have been working on this project with Camille for a very long time. We're extremely excited about it. It is also an opportunity zone project, which means that we have to do a certain amount of substantial improvement in a timely manner, and also stay invested in this project long-term to get the maximum benefit. And so this is a project that we really want to do right, that we will be invested in for at least 10 years, and that aligns incentives with the neighboring community. We've also, as part of the design, spent a lot of time to really be thoughtful about it, how this is positioned on Bay Road in relation to the new Stanford campus, the other light industrial buildings around it, and then further away some of the neighborhoods, and how that design incorporates not only more collegiate elements from the university, but also the more industrial look and feel, and then also as an economically relevant building for the future that can support R&D lab and other types of uses within that zoning. We have assembled a top tier team of designers and consultants to help us along the way, and have been working with Camille over the last couple years to put this project together. There were some turns along the road with fire and life safety and everything, but we feel like it has come out at the other end with a better overall project. And I'd like to turn it over to Phil at Form 4, the architecture team, to maybe speak a little bit more about the design and how we arrived at this project.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to present. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I just have about 10 slides that I want to take you through to describe the design concept. So the project, like Ian said, was started a couple of years ago, and came to a very good place right now. This rendering shows 2900 Bay Road, which is where the grand stairs are up to Upper Plaza, and a little glimpse of what's going on the Redwood City site next to it. The idea is to lease the building to R&D, and it could be one large tenant or it could be several tenants. It's designed for flexibility. The overall goal of the project is to create an enduring and sustainable workplace. When we say enduring, it is both built to last and sustainable, meaning use of appropriate materials and energy efficiency. And it balances the needs of the tenants and also provides an asset for the local community. And those goals inform the narratives of the landscape and the architecture as well. The site selected really encompasses like an entire half a block facing Bay Road. We are across from the Stanford campus and a very nice green open space. And the yellow down here shows the number of lots that were merged to create 2900 Bay Road. The idea of taking the entire block allows a very large floor plate, and it gets natural light to the workplace on all sides of the project. Looking at from the other side, you can see the industrial nature of the project and the proximity to the mobile home park that was mentioned before. But the existing buildings, when you evaluate the existing buildings, they're outdated. They have issues with seismic safety, fire life safety, and energy efficiency, and they're difficult to lease in today's world. So the applicant is coming in and providing, new workplace geared for research and development. The design is mostly rendered in light gray concrete with floor to ceiling glass, and the glass from slab to slab admits light deep into the large workspace and gives the architecture a very kind of timeless appearance. We've also are emphasizing the connection to the open space across the street by creating a urban plaza on level 2. So the ground floor of the building is continuous parking, as you've seen in previous slides. And above the parking, on top of this podium, we have a large amenity deck that is accessible through a grand stairway from Bay Road. There's also a roof garden that is for the tenants of the building. And as we mentioned, these elevator penthouses exceed the 40-foot height limit, but there are no variances requested for this project. It's all by right, both with use and with scale and size. This is a composite showing both projects. The red boundary is 2900 Bay Road, and then the sister building to it at 2950 Bay Road. Similar programs, again, geared for either a single tenant or multi-tenants. The edges of the project are heavily landscaped to be friendly to our neighbors, and the frontage on Bay Road is really activated with different uses. Again, the monumental stair. There is a large multi-use room that faces the street, and on the roof of that is what we call the Agora. And I think this project may be branded the Agora for its the way it creates a community place. This is another view, the same view that I showed before, showing the Agora concept with the big trellis and the grand space that it creates below it. The architecture frames the lobby entrance here, as well as the multi-use space here that could be used for conferences and so forth. And then the outdoor space above it under the Agora. A view from Barron Road showing the length of the project. And a couple more views that just kind of show the place that we're making on top of these grand stairs. They're appropriate for informal outdoor meetings as well as for taking your lunch and just being outdoors and enjoying the views across to the other open space. There's another view of the project looking out towards the open space across the street. Yeah, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That looks like a great project.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ketchum, do you have any question for the applicant?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Serrano Kwan?
Thank you for the presentation. The project looks very lively. Appreciate it.
So are there plans for putting solar panels? That's my favorite question usually.
Yes, there are. You know, the building code's always changing, and it's going to be probably a LEED Gold project. So we have accommodations for solar panels on the roof.
Okay, because I saw many kind of corridors which are good likely places where I have seen in other buildings.
Yeah, and we certainly have a large roof. Yeah, and we certainly have a large roof. Yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. At this time, I would open up for public speakers. Janet, do we have any public speakers?
Hi, this is public comment for item number 4. We do currently have Roxanne Dragon.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Now you can hear me.
Yes, go ahead.
I just had a question, I'm sorry, for someone regarding what Camille was going through, and that was a really great presentation, by the way, but it was for the letter C, where the trucks will be entering and exiting from Bay Road. And then she said they're going to go around Second, so that means they're going to turn on west on Second and like go around the block to come back to Bay Road. I just wanted to clarify that they're not coming down this part of Second. I'm at the other end of Second, the 900 block. Yeah.
Is that all?
Yes.
Ms.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was my question.
Thanks for your comment.
Thank you. We'll move on to the other speakers and
hi, there are actually no more speakers for this item.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Janet.
May I suggest that if we could go back to Camille's presentation and show the slide of the construction pattern to answer the question that was just posed. There you have it. So
Okay,
if you could, yeah, put in slideshow mode, please.
Okay, 1 minute, sorry. Hold on, bear with. Is Roxanne, can Roxanne see, or is she joining by phone? It looks like maybe she's not joining by phone. Roxanne, are you able to see this?
I can see it.
Okay. Can Roxanne see it?
Well, go ahead and explain.
Okay. Okay, so there'll be, the trucks will be coming in from Bay Road, then entering the property kind of where the city and the county limit are, crossing vertically on the property, and then making that sort of L-shaped turn to the east, and then making a left on Second to go back on Bay Road, and then Bay Road back to the freeway. So not approaching the area of Second Street north of Bay Road.
Right, and so I think Roxanne, she might have asked if it was a west turn. They're actually heading east back to Bay.
Yeah, and I believe she's concerned about this area neighborhood over here in the city. So they won't even be crossing on the north side of Bay. They'll just be staying on Bay and going back to the freeway.
Thanks, Camille.
okay. So I hope that clarifies her question. And is this available in the staff report?
Yes,
yeah, okay.
Attached.
So that should help her understand. Thank you, Camille. Okay, so since we have no more public speakers, I would like to close the public hearing at this time. And we can open up the deliberations for the commissioners. Commissioner Ketchum, would you like, you have any comments?
I just have to say it's so helpful, especially a project of this scale, well, any project, to have the input from the local community council. It just, in this case, especially, they're recommending approval. So I like the project. I don't have anything to say.
Is that all? Okay.
That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Serrano Kwan?
No comment. Questions?
Would you like to add anything to your, in terms of your deliberation for the project?
No. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think it looks like a good project. And do I have a motion for the project?
I'll make the motion. I move we approve the grading permit by making findings and adopting the conditions of approval in attachment A of the staff report.
I second the motion.
Roll call, please.
Vice Chair Gupta,
Aye.
Commissioner Ketchum,
Aye.
Commissioner Serrano Kwan.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Motion passes unanimously with Commissioner Hanson and Commissioner Ramirez absent.
Just to clarify, Commissioner Ramirez is technically not absent. He has recused himself, but the record will reflect that because he did that on the record.
So the record will indicate that he recused.
Correct. I just wanted to draw a distinction between being absent from the meeting and taking a recusal.
Okay, so how would that be indicated in wordings?
We'll make sure the motion was clear and you reported the vote on the motion, which is perfectly fine. I just wanted to clarify that we shouldn't specify that he abstained from voting or was absent from the meeting, but that he recused, because it's important that that be acknowledged. So
Okay.
I'll work with staff to make sure that the letter of decision and the minutes reflect that appropriately.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
That would
Tim.
be-
Thank you, Tim. And let me say thank you to the applicants for their patience with some of the challenges we've encountered here. And yeah, I look forward to seeing this project progress. So thanks to the applicants.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So we move on to our next item, which is correspondence and other matters.
Thank you, Chair. I do not have any official correspondence to report, but I am happy to say that Jonathan and I have received some terrific pictures from Commissioner Hansen on his trip north, including a picture, I think, of the northernmost residence on the planet, which and is quite the shack.
Okay.
As well as a picture between of him below a sign warning of bears. So I'm hoping he's safe.
Okay. When do we get to see them?
Janet, could you would you share that with the rest of the commissioners, please?
Sure.
And then yeah, I can move on to the next item with your permission, Commissioner Gupta.
Please, yes.
So we don't have any study session scheduled for the next meeting, but I did want to mention that we are working with Public Works to respond to Commissioner Ramirez's request to get a workshop on the Middlefield Road project. And so that will occur sometime in October. With regard to the next meeting, we don't have a study session planned, but we have two important items. One being the Quarry Park parking lot that our public speaker, Ms. Pollard, mentioned. That's important. As you might have heard, the Parks Department has opened a new bicycle pump track there, and it's very popular spot, so we want to make sure we're providing adequate parking. And then the other project is the proposed relocation of the Pescadero Fire Station and the LCP amendments required to enable not only the fire station to be located in the proposed location, but to allow for the extension of the utilities to the new fire station and to the high school, which is adjacent to the proposed location. So that concludes it for our next meeting. In terms of the director's report, just to update you on things that have come before the board. Yesterday, the Board of Supervisors considered the appeal of the coastal permit issued or approved to AmeriGas to legalize and improve the fencing adjacent to Pillar Ridge manufactured home out there in Princeton off Airport. And the board declined the appeal and maintained the commission's approval. And there was an additional component to the motion that directed the Planning and Building Department to include an analysis and potential implementation of the concept of amortizing out the use, if you will. So to require that the propane use that is on the site to be abandoned over a period of time that's reasonable for them to shut down their operations. So we'll be looking at that, and there'll be more to come on that. The other item they considered was the Farm Bureau's appeal of the Johnston Ranch project. That was a partnership between Peninsula Open Space Peninsula Open Space Trust and the Mid-Peninsula Open Space and Recreation District to legalize some of the lots on the ranch, to adjust the boundaries of the lots, and to rescind and replace the Williamson Act contracts and other related farm security contracts with new contracts in open space easements. And the board in that instance also upheld the Planning Commission's approval of that project. With regard to upcoming board meetings, the September 27th meeting is dedicated to approval of the final budget. And we have 2 items on the consent calendar for that meeting, one being a contract with Good City to complete the North Fair Oaks Community Plan 10-year review project that I think I've mentioned to you before, as well as to establish a new contract with our geotechnical consultants, Cotton Shires and Associates. The other contract that we are about to enter that doesn't have to go to the board because it's under the cost that requires board action is one to complete the tree regulation update that the board, the commission is aware has been underway because due to the departure of our planning manager, Melissa Ross, who is leading the completion of that effort, and our desire to get it done as soon as possible. We will be entering into this contract with Dudek to take the final steps to get it up across the finish line. And that completes my director's report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions? Go ahead. Go ahead, Commissioner Ketchup.
So any news about the Caltrans Midcoast Variable Message Sign CDP?
Yes, it will be returning to the Planning Commission. We have let Caltrans know that if they anticipate a different recommendation than the one we put forward, then they are going to need to provide supplemental information to staff, and they haven't done so yet. So they have been in contact and expressed interest in getting it back on the calendar, but they have not responded to the concerns that staff has expressed regarding the impact of the project. So at this point, we're waiting on them either to say, yeah, we want to just get that on the calendar, or to let us know, no, we'll sit down and meet with you to discuss the issues of concern. So the ball is in their court, so to say.
So as I understand it, the sign proposed for within Half Moon Bay city limits was denied. So I don't know where they are with their whole project, but you don't have any news on your end, in other words.
I do not have news on my end, and I appreciate that update. I wasn't aware of that.
So the status of Plan Princeton, this rings in my ears. This was some years ago when you said that Plan Princeton was going to be hot on the heels of Connect Coastside. So now finally, Connect Coastside's done. So what is the timeline now for Plan Princeton?
Yes, thanks for that question. I was actually meeting yesterday with our planners, Summer Burlinson and Katie Faulkner, who have taken over the helm on that project. And it's unfortunately because of resource challenges, we haven't progressed as quickly as we have. That's on the unfortunate side of things. On the positive side of things, we have a whole lot of new information about the risks of sea level rise and impacts of climate change on the area. And so I met with them yesterday to talk about the new kind of guidance that's come out from the state about dealing with sea level rise and as it relates to the efforts that we've made to date. And it caused us all to realize that we need to rethink some of the zoning change proposals we had been contemplating in the administrative draft. Specifically, I think we need to think hard about creating a sea level rise district that acknowledges the likely future inundation of the area. As you may recall, an important component of the plan is the shoreline management plan. And I think going into it, we had hoped that through shoreline management, we could enable, new development that would be sustainable. But I think with the new information regarding inundation, our ability to prevent inundation is really being called into question. And so we're going to need more time internally to evaluate what we think is appropriate to put forward, but we are working on it with the resources we have.
So that leads me to a question on further clarification on the Airport Street bulk propane facility and the board's direction to add to your work plan, as I understand it, a proposal to amortize out the existing uses by rezoning the parcel. So my first thought was, well, perhaps that would just be put in to Plan Princeton if that was coming up soon, but sounds like not.
Well, in fact, Commissioner Ketchum, we talked about that as well. And I think that indeed might be the quickest path to get it done, is to fold it into the Plan Princeton effort. That being said, I understand where you were going with that, because I do think we're going to need some time to figure out this kind of sea level rise zoning issue. And if we're going to have to just see how that plays out in terms of timing. So I think there's more to come on that, but I'm open to both options, either incorporating it in Plan Princeton or moving it forward independently, if Plan Princeton's going to take more time. So as I said, more to come on that.
I understand the need to have more, not to rush Plan Princeton, but which we haven't really, but like you say, it's probably better that we delayed. And so I guess my concern is that obviously for the people here next door to the propane facility, we would like it expedited, but however that might happen, sounds like you don't really have any information yet for us.
Well, I am pleased to report that we have completed not completed the recruitment. We're in the process of recruiting for a new planning manager, and that application period's closed, and so that's moving forward, and getting someone in that position will really help move along both projects that we're talking about.
Okay, and one final question. Do you have any new date for the Board of Supervisors to hear the ZMA appeal?
I anticipate October 14th. That's preliminary, but I think that's the meeting we're aiming for at this point.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
This was the ZMA project?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Serrano, Paul, did you have any questions?
And no further comments or questions. Thank you.
No question. Okay. I had sent you an email, Steve, about Mr. Singh. Did you have a chance to look at it, or when you get a chance to look at it, please let me or let him know what's going on? He seemed quite frustrated on that issue.
Yes, Commissioner Gupta, Mr. Singh and the department staff have been in communication for many years now, and we're at the point where I think I would call it, we've agreed to disagree in terms of, he believes that what we've identified as a violation is not a violation. And we've explained to him the method by which he can resolve that violation. He has essentially at this point refused to do so, and instead continues to lobby a wide variety of decision makers on his position that there's no violation here. And I don't expect that our position will change or his position will change. So I appreciate you forwarding me his message, but
Right, yeah.
I think
He
at this point,
contacted me, so I thought.
right, you're not the only one.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you for looking into it. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yes, no problem.
Okay, okay, and one thing that I have is, I think we faced this even before, is somehow it seems there's a disconnect between these posting of the minutes on the website. I think Janet tries to post them and we don't see them on the website. So I don't know what the issue is there. You noticed it too.
Janet and I are actively working on some of the problems we've encountered with the minutes. So I apologize for that, Commissioner, and we will definitely do better moving forward.
Right, yes. Somehow either there's a delay or something else is happening. So, okay. All right. So as long as you are aware of it and you are looking into it. Thank you. Thank you. So I have nothing else. So the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, bye.